Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I have an RTX 2080 from EVGA, my favorite brand. The card looks virgin. I like this sticker here, and there's a screw underneath it. That means no one's touched it. It's always a good thing. And if I look over here, let me zoom in. There's a burn on the connector, and I believe that connector goes to either fans or the LEDs and fans all together. We'll have to find that out right after we take it apart. Yeah, I did my best to detach this male from a female connector, but there's only so much I could do, and it ended up tearing off the board completely. And the board here is really bad. It's all puffed up. You can see it's bulged. I'm assuming there's a whole bunch of short circuits, but on this end it looks rather beautiful. So let's see. Very unfortunate that we have a bunch of wires there that we may or may not be able to repair. We'll see. Well, the worst case scenario, we now have a donor. So this pad here is ridiculously thin, and it's very important that I save it because it's going to be impossible to find a replacement. I gotta be super careful to preserve this pad. And you can already see I already had a small tear. So this pad's gonna go in there. And hopefully it won't get any more damage. And this is a well-known problem with these later made cards, that they're using pads that are not standard. I don't even know where to find them, so I might as well just save as much as I can. And just look at this. Oh my god, this thing is caked. Look at it. This is scary right there. That's a lot of damage. So we're gonna have to shave all of this off and see what we come up with. Okay, let's see if we can have any sensible measurements here. So I'm going to measure 12 volt. And we have 16 ohms. That's not normal. I have never had this card before, so I will just kind of guess what I'm measuring. 9 kilo ohms. 9 kilo ohms is probably a 3.3 volt line. I'm not sure, or maybe 73 ohms. This 73 ohms. This could be PCI Express. Don't quote me on this. 9 ohms. Okay, so what do we have on memory? 60 ohms and 60 ohms in memory, and obviously this reading here is going to be really low. Okay, my multimeter can't even pick that up. So I want to make sure that the line that powers the GPU phase is not shorted to 12 volt line. and it does not seem like it is, though it does show 17 ohms, so it may well be shorted, and if that's the case, then the GPU is probably toast. Looks like these may be 12 volt lines, so yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to get familiar with this before I make any conclusions. Alright. I'm going to try to put a picture up on the screen of what each coil is supposed to be measuring at, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so as you can see, I had to remove all that burned PCB here, and I polished the edge very nicely so I could clearly see all the trace lines that are in between very clearly, so that way I know that nothing is shorting out over there. I had to get it nice and clean and polished. Obviously I would look at it under a microscope to make sure that nothing's there, and as a matter of fact, the short circuit that I had on the 12 line had gone away, and I'll show it to you right now. We're getting kilo ohms here. See, we're getting about 6 kilo ohms there. These are also 12 volts. I'm going to show you some of the resistance. I'm going to go over the card and show you what resistance I get. So roughly about 28-30 kilo ohms here. About 6 kilo ohms as here and there. So this looks like the resistance from the PCI slot to this coil here is the same. This one is another 12 volt. About 28-30 kilo ohms on there. This one is 5 volt. 13 kilo ohms. These are 12 volt. And these goes all over the place. So this one is USB C. We're not gonna use that, so we don't need that. Though there is 40 kilo ohms or something like that. This is 1.8 volt line, and we have 50 ohms. Let me do from this end. 50 ohms, and this one is a 1 volt. This is a PCI. This is a PEX, PCI Express. So 11 ohms. It does seem like a little bit low compared to 1070s, but apparently for this card that's pretty normal. So, and I have 60 on memory, 64, and obviously the resistance to the of the GPU power phases are rather low, so I can't really show them. Well, it does show 0.3, 0.4, and that's probably because the card is completely cold right now. So, but what you do want to check once in a while is to see if your phase is shorting, your GPU phase are shorting to 12 volt line, and as you can see they do not. So, and that's a good sign, because if they were, then your GPU is 100% dead. And say if you had a short on memory, like dead short, or you could have a short on memory to 12 volt, then it's really hard to tell which one is dead, whether it's the GPU or the memory. So the easiest way to check is to lift the memory. Well, you want to know where that short is happening by disconnecting these coils, and then you're measuring. And if you're measuring here when with the coil removed, if you measure here and you still have a short, but measuring here and there's no short there, that means that the short is on this side. So you either probably have a controller that's shorting out, or you have these drivers or MOSFETs. I'm not exactly sure what these things are. I haven't looked them up yet. Like I said earlier, this is a completely new card to me, so I'm not very familiar with it. But at least if you have no short after the coil, then everything here should theoretically be okay. But if you have a short before, then either a controller or these MOSFETs or whatever they are. So with that said, like I said, I'm not sure if I did that, if I said that or not, but I did run this card already. I plugged it in. It does output a picture. As a matter of fact, I ran it for a few minutes. Well, not really a few minutes, because the cooling system still doesn't work, because there's really no way to plug in the cooler. What I did, I just booted into Windows. I turned on Furmark with my little tiny fan here, just kind of attached to the GPU, just for a couple of seconds to see if anything crashes, and nothing crashed. So we were good right there, and I'm assuming that the card is 100% functional as far as the functionality of it goes. However, we need to do something about the cooling system, and I don't know if you can see this. Let me zoom in. Clearly you can see that this port here is completely cooked. So my plan is simple. The board actually, this is a reference board, meaning it fits many models. Not so much the board fits many models, it's just the board is very standard, and a lot of the vendors use this layout to have their own cooling systems and whatnot. So the cooling system may vary, but the board is always the same. So these pins here, they're actually for a fan control. So whatever pins I had here, all of them are here, with the exception of the LED. So I'm not going to bother with the LEDs, but I will try to rewire the connector for the cooling fans, and I'll probably have to make something like what you normally see with a different card like this. Maybe I can come up with a little connector like this, and then I'll see what I can do, and I'll show you the result in just a second. Obviously, we're gonna need to have a board view for that, so that we can trace which lines go where. So okay, I'll be right back. And so immediately the challenge I have is, once I put this this shielding plate, and if you look there, I have no room. I have no room to stick anything like this adapter there. So, and also on top of that, I gotta have room for this fan. So something like that is. So what I'm thinking is, I'll probably cut away a little bit of metal. Give me a little bit of room for the connectors. And what I'll do is I'll probably chop off all these wires and separate them into fans only, and I will leave the LEDs alone, just gonna hang there, you know. And that's probably the reason why they shorted out. They put them all into one place, and Fans are probably running at maximum, LEDs were glowing, and just too much power going through these little tiny wires causing this area to overheat and short. So great job, I guess. And the card had been running for a few minutes now. I'm doing 95% load on the memory. Temperatures are all good, and if you look at the specs, the only side effect we have is that the speed of the second fan is 0 RPM. That's because we've combined first fan and the second fan into one slot. So the second slot is not occupied for the fan connector, therefore it does not see it. But it doesn't matter. The temperatures are good and the card is running stable, so that's all we need for today. Thank you for watching and have a blessed day. I'll see you later.